you guys are doing all the hard work, but I see you complaining and reacting and kicking people out. And so I figured there's enough war stories and enough other things that we could talk about that happen in this stupid world that we have thrust ourselves into every week, that it would be fun to kind of blow off a little bit of steam.
Yeah.
Are we it? Well, there's Doug. Doug's not here. But that's it for the admins for that page?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right? I think so, yeah. Which for as big a page as we have, number of members, we have a small admin group, I think. So
I think so too.
But we got a system.
The interesting thing to me is that, and people may not know in the group, that I'm gonna say that we reject half of the people that want to be in the page. At least around half of the people.
You're only rejecting half.
But in general, like we have our method, our secret method to do it. But I would say that So, but I mean, like, we don't take everybody. It's not like those like Ancient Origins group that takes anybody who wants to join. And that's why they have. I don't know where they are now. They may have like 1 million people or something, but we still have like 146,000 last time I checked.
And of that 146,000, there's a surprising percentage of actual archaeologists.
Yeah,
so that's an amazing. I mean, you would think that that's just all avocationalists or enthusiasts, but there's a lot of archaeologists on there.
I'm often surprised. I don't post on there a lot. Mostly now I get a video done, I post it, there's a few comments or whatever, and I don't go and read a bunch of other things that are on there, but I'll skim through. But I'm often surprised by the amount of stuff that people out there know, like in gory detail, and can respond to. Like, it's pretty impressive. And I think like you get that on that group because there's like a critical mass now. Like no matter what topic there's somebody on there who can contribute something about it, and I think you guys are doing a pretty good job of trying to separate wheat from chaff, to use a cliche. And I know, like, half the time when my phone rings or when my phone dings during the day, at least half, it's JA announcing that she has kicked somebody out. So it's like my wife's like, "What's going on over there?" It's like, she's just kicking me.
Yeah, I don't. I keep forgetting their names by the time I've kicked them out. I'm like, I booted somebody. I don't know.
Yeah, I have to keep a list. Well, I figured that way you guys know why I did it. I usually go in, I look at what they say, I look to see, did they misunderstand it or mistalk? Then I go to their profiles, and that usually makes the decision. And I used to be like, okay, I'll give you a sec. Patience is gone. Sorry. If you say bad words,
you do a lot more due diligence than I would ever have the patience for anyway. So I give you huge props for that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for.
You made me mad. You're gone.
Yeah, I'm all for letting people who are kind of on the fence hang around, but if they're hardcore, I'm here to argue with you. That's not our group. That's not what we.
Yeah.
We're kind of we're here to let this off our chest and blow off some steam, and that seems to be what the membership really wants. They want that kind of a place.
Yeah. I mean, I originally envisioned it as a place to do that and then to share information, because we weren't doing that yet. Everything was kind of out there, but there was no like central place where you could just post stuff.
There is. Yeah, you're right. There's no real central archaeoskepticism. There's no archaeoskeptic society, I guess, which that would be ASS. I see a pretty good logo there of a donkey looking back over his shoulder at it with a fedora or something, maybe. But yeah, that would be neat if we had a society, maybe ASS. Who knows?
Like a real society, like pay your dues.
So, yeah. Archaeoskeptics were. I mean, we have we talk to each other. I created that little archaeoskeptics group, hoping that it would take off. Nobody really seemed to have an interest. Everybody's busy, though. We all have. I mean, in the spring, this time of the year, I'm crazy busy from about January to about now. and it starts letting up right about June for me. When it starts getting too hot to go out in the field.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand. Everybody's got they got their real jobs. So
That's true, and a lot of the ideas that we are up against, like that is their job. Like
yeah, yeah.
Like if Jimmy Corsetti does anything besides work for 6 months on a BS video and put it out and get his money, like I have no idea what it is. That's what these guys do.
It looks like he spends about 6 minutes, honestly.
He's been successful at it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing that kills me. And it's not that I'm envious, but like I just don't understand what the appeal is.
We could do the same thing, but we have to. It's the mystery monger and the significance junkie appeal. I mean, and so that's an easy clickbait. We can appeal to that real easy, but we don't. We take the hard route. Climb the cliff.
It's hard. Facts are hard.
The one thing that Pseudo has done, and they're very successful at it, they have cracked how to sell novels. The hook, the first line, the keeping them interest, the keywords, they have cracked that absolutely perfect. And they know how to get their readership, and they get them. You have to they spend countless just bullshitting.
You can say that. It's okay. You can say it. I give you permission.
Sorry.
I'm probably going to drop an F-bomb here sooner or later.
Turns out YouTube doesn't care as long as you wait past the first 7 seconds. We're way past the first 7 seconds, so you can say fuck all you want. It's totally fine.
Well, they don't care what they put up. They just put up whatever. They don't. It doesn't matter. My cat today talked and walked and did all this, and oh, really? And everybody, nobody goes, hold it now. Your cat can't walk and talk. It's not a human.
That's no fun.
But that's no fun, right? It's not the fun. They like the fun, the element, the mystery, the excitement.
Well, that's how Hancock got me hypnotized the first time, talking about the Ark of the Covenant in Ethiopia, and he made the whole story. And I watched that show, and I couldn't stop watching it. And then I started looking for more information about him, and then that got me into Ancient Aliens. And then one day I watched, I forgot the name of the show. I forgot the guy that was debunking Ancient Aliens, I think is the name. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, what is this?
Right. Yeah.
What is? Oh, so there's an explanation for this. There's another explanation for this. And so that's how I started, looking into more real sources. But like Jay said, like he's a journalist, so he knows how to write, and he knows how to make people interested in the story, and I totally fell for it. Yeah.
So how long ago then, Pablo, did you convert to reality? We probably all have our storyline here. It'd be interesting to talk about, actually.
I am going to say something like 15 years ago.
Okay.
And the real story is that I've always been kind of skeptic, but this time I was watching Ancient Aliens, and I remember the Von Braun participation and how he was the one who, kind of brought the rockets technology and the whole thing. But there was a part where apparently he was interviewed and he said something like they got help from some beings or something like that. And I kind of believed it. I mean, it's almost embarrassing to admit it, but I kind of believed it. And one time I met a real rocket scientist that worked for NASA, and I told him, "What do you think about this?" And he looked at me, turned his back, and started walking away from me. And I was so ashamed.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you.
No,
I'm laughing because
please laugh at all me. Laugh at all me, because I was so ashamed that I realized how stupid I was being, how stupid. And then that also helped me look into real things.
So I think for you though, two things could have happened. One, which what did happen is it caused you to look at it from a different point of view. But the other thing that could have happened is you could have doubled down and just said, "Well, that was just an ass move," and he's hiding something and
Exactly
on the other direction. So I think that's the danger of ridicule and just turning your back. And we do a lot of ridicule on the Fraudulent Archaeology Wall of Shame, but like I said, that really is for archaeologists and enthusiasts to talk to each other and let their hair down. Is really not for the debate with the believers, But it's public, so they can see what we're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Carl, how did you get interested in this crap?
Well, as a kid, when I was about 7, I saw a UFO. And we lived next to a NASA base. And I was going out. Like when I say next to it, I mean literally the backyard. Then there was a field and a fence. And on the other side of the fence was NASA, the Wallops Island in Virginia. And so I was going out to feed a rabbit, and this ball of fire slowly went overhead. Too slow to be a meteor or anything else, and made no sound, went overhead. I panicked, went inside. I'm thinking, it's going to burn down the forest and kill my rabbit. I'm like 7 years old. And the babysitter was like, "Oh, no, that's a UFO. And you saw a UFO." And after that, everything, Project Blue Book, the original series was on television. There was a lot of UFO stuff on television at the time. This is 1970s, late 70s. Well, no, maybe mid 70s. So to kind of date myself a little bit, but years later, maybe 10 years later, 12 years later, I'm in Honduras and it's getting dark and I see the same thing happen, but I'm a soldier on a flight line in Palmarola Air Base, and I see the same exact thing. And there's like that ball of fire real slow, and then it lands on the airfield. It's like friggin' Harrier jet. And I'm like, shit. So I called my dad and I said, "Dad, when we lived over, did they have Harriers on, coming in and out of NASA, Wallops?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, all the time." So that was the beginning of this skepticism there. But around the same time as in that period, I remember very distinctly, I used to read Omni magazine. I don't know if you guys remember that. Andy might remember it, but Omni magazine was like my favorite thing. It was a blend of science fiction and science fact. And they had this tiny little article in there about the little airplanes, the
Tolima jets.
The Tolima jets, yeah. So the Cabal culture, I think it is, of Colombia. And so they had a little Tolima jet that looked like the new space shuttle. And, it's in the Smithsonian. It just so happened, we were going to the Smithsonian with a school group, the next month. So as soon as I got there, I'm walking around the Smithsonian asking everybody, every security guard, "Hey, where's the little, Tolima jet?" Nobody could answer me where it was. I'm thinking, Museum of Natural History somewhere. Everybody I asked didn't have any idea where it was. I'm sure it was down in a collection somewhere with a bunch of these artifacts. And had I seen all of them together in context, it probably would have immediately, I would have looked at that and go, "Oh, these are all little bugs and animals and things like that." But all I had in my head was this little jet, and I couldn't find it. And that kind of, I'm like, well, they're hiding something, because they wouldn't tell me where it was.
In the Vatican.
I'm like 8, 9 years old, I'm not really young. So
you were radicalized.
It took years for that to unhinge. It took reading. Really, it was reading Carl Sagan's Demon Haunted World. I was a big fan of Carl Sagan, and when I read that, I was already a fan of his from watching Cosmos, and so that and having a very similar name, probably helped out a little bit. But then I read Demon Haunted World, and I'm like, that just flipped everything, flipped the script for me reading that. And today I give that book away. Probably, every other year or so, I'm giving a copy of that book to somebody.
Like relatives at Thanksgiving and say, "Hey."
Friends, relatives. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Now, people who are just show any interest in science at all, and I got 2 or 3 copies. Well, I think I'm out right now, but I usually keep I find them used for 50 cents or something, I'll buy them and I just give them away. How about you, Andy?
How about me? I was gonna send it downstairs first. You want to go or you want me to go? I'll go. So I probably talked about this a lot in talks, but I grew up watching In Search Of, and we had like these unexplained mysteries books, and I would read that stuff, and like I was interested in it, and I just presumed there were unexplained mysteries, whatever. It really wasn't until I got into college that I was kind of forced to take a hard look at it, and memory is a funny thing because I don't remember how exactly this happened, but one summer I ended up living with a guy. Like I was living in a place and we had a room to sublet or whatever, and he was like a conspiracy theorist, Atlantis author wannabe, and he was working on a book, and he was older, smoked pot all the time, had long hair, wore leather pants, and he hired me because I also didn't have anything to do that summer. So he hired me to like be his copy editor and read all this stuff. And I was getting my BA in archaeology at that point at Indiana University. So I became intimately familiar with all of these, pre-Columbian transoceanic contact stuff, all the Bat Creek Stone, everything having to do with ancient Israelites, Jesus traveling to India, all the Ark of the Covenant stuff and the Von Daniken stuff. And so I had to read all that and I had to edit it. And he would just go in his room and, come out half an hour later, just completely baked and want to talk about it all. So like, that was my, I was baptized by getting dunked underwater. And like, at first I was like, wow, this is really interesting. Like, maybe Jesus did go to India and maybe, Mary, and all this kind of stuff. But then the more I got into it, I'm writing like papers, like real papers for grades. And so like, I have the skill set developed to try to understand what I'm reading and to like, look for things that make sense logically. Like after a while, it just starts to fall apart as you like scratch at the surface of this literature and ask questions like, well, if this is that way, well, then why is this? And he couldn't answer any of those, so like I both helped him create this product, which I don't think it ever was published. And I've tried to look him up online and I think it just kind of died. Thankfully, because I didn't want my name on it, but if it never surfaces, yeah, sure. That happened. So I was trying to help him create this product, but I was also like developing my own skeptical credentials at the time because like I was, going through it and thinking about it hard and realizing that none of this could actually be true. Like it just couldn't be true. And this was also the time when Burroughs Cave was like a thing and he was supposed to be on that project and he was all about it and he was showing me all these pictures. It's like, that's a bunch of garbage. Like, who are you serious? Like, are you serious? But this was also in the days before the internet where you couldn't go and like fact check all this stuff. So like it was books from the library and reports and things like that. There were no like videos you could watch. So that was it for me. And I realized I was in a little bit of a precarious position because like I wanted to be an archaeologist at that point. And here I am getting my degree and I'm also helping with this garbage. So I had to cut it off. But like I learned a lot of lessons. I learned how to think about things and I learned a lot of the subject matter. And, there's a lot more out there that he didn't tap into. But, as like these things just kind of start glomming together. So that was my, I think, transformative experience. And I didn't start speaking out about it, I think, until maybe 2014 or 2015 after I saw the search for lost giants on TV because I had seen a lot of these giant skeleton accounts in this guy's work. And that was back when you still had to go dig them out with microfilm at the library. There wasn't, a compendium anywhere and you couldn't search old newspapers online. So like I was interested in that topic because it's like, well, these are really interesting accounts. Like there's something there, like I couldn't explain it. And so I saw this explanation that Jim Vieira, who I now count as a friend of mine and his buddy, his brother or whatever were putting out. And I realized like, that's a bunch of garbage. And like, I know that stuff. Like I can make a contribution here in helping other people understand what they're looking at. So that got me interested in talking about it. As a kind of a public academic. So I've always thought that these topics were interesting from so many different angles.
Oh yeah.
Historically, I want to know where these ideas come from. I want to know why people like them now. I want to know what the appeal is. And I want to be able to explain why they're wrong. And so like, I think it's a really good intellectual exercise, and a thinking exercise and a communication exercise. So that's why I like it. But as you guys know, I got pretty burned out as I was teaching that class, and so that's why I put myself on the bench. And but it's actually kind of fun to be back. I'm finding that I can have more of a balance now. But as I ruffle feathers, who knows whether that will continue.
Yeah,
That's
I just watched your LA Marzulli. I call BS.
That dude. I just found out the other day he has been bad-mouthing me for years because he has accused me of like photoshopping some giant skeleton picture that was in the museum in Moundsville for Grave Creek Mound. Like somehow I got into the museum and I photoshopped a picture. I replaced it in a display or something. Like I don't know what the hell he's talking about, but he's got a $3,000 reward. A $3,000 reward for information basically leading to my capture. So there's going to be an end point to this story, and he's not going to like it, but it's coming. And you know, Pablo, and you know, Carl, based on Swordgate, like when it's time to, go to the mattresses, I go to the mattresses. Like this is not going to end well for him.
Oh yeah,
so, there you go.
Me too.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't back down a bit. In fact, I doubled down.
Anyway, I love you guys for the Swordgate stuff, by the way. For a long time, Hutton Pulitzer was saying that Pablo and I were the same person. So
yeah,
I think Carl, you and I were probably the same person.
Here
too.
we are.
Yeah, exactly. I'm CGI.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've still got a couple swords back there. I need to, I should really write a paper about that someday. I don't know who would ever read it, but I have forgotten more about Swordgate than most people.
I've got it. Yeah, I've got it.
She's got one. All right. I'm gonna go get mine. I'll be right back.
All right, well, let me get mine.
Oh, I'm the only one who doesn't have one.
Oh.
That's because I'm not real.
There you go. You have your.
Here we go.
You go getting one. There you go.
Wow.
$24.95.
I think mine was like 19, so it's probably the same
you guys have
price.
the cast iron ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Just the cheap ones for fun.
I keep this by my bedside. Because I don't have a gun. If you break into my house, you're gonna wish I had a gun.
That's right. Boy, I'd hate to get hit with one of these. I don't even remember. I don't remember where that one came from.
Is that the one from Italy?
I don't know. Let me see what I've got. I've got that.
How many do you have?
There was like 50 pounds.
18, I think, or something. It was hilarious as we started getting more and more and more and more. That was ridiculous.
This is the one with the partial fuller on it. I would have to check the data. I don't remember anything about these now in terms of like which one is which, and we had all the different types going.
I thought
that's the Design Toscano one. That's the $20 or $30 eBay or Amazon sword.
The one, no, is that the one they claim is made after a real one?
Oh, that was cool.
This was the bizarre one. So I had to have this shipped. I think this is the one from Italy. I had to have it shipped to my my wife's uncle who lives in Europe, and then he shipped it to me.
That is cool. That one's different.
That's bizarre.
I like the style.
Is that one signed by Hercules?
All right, so JA, you owe us your story. What the hell are you doing here?
What am I doing here? That's a good question. My father was deep into pseudo. Now, he was born like in 1913, so I was kind of a late baby. So he was already deep into pseudo, dowsing. I remember treasure magazines with the hook on it. Because they would cave stories, the dwarves that are up in the Bighorn Mountains, just all this stuff. And I was always one that was in the library over in the anthropology, archaeology section when I was little. And you're not supposed to be up there because you're a child, but I was always over there. So he'd have this stuff, and I'd go, "It doesn't make sense. That doesn't work." And I was always fighting with him about this. He had a guy that was famous in Billings bringing, supposed to be a pyramid person. This was during the pyramid days, during the early 70s. And my father, oh, by the way, he does have he had a pyramid in his over his bed. Yeah. And a pyramid outside. Yeah. Yes. It was, and the pyramid sharpened his blades, razor blades.
I've seen ads for that.
And he said he knows it happens because he had put two pieces of plastic together to make the window for the pyramid up above. And I said, "You sure it's not the sun melting the two pieces together?" No, it's the pyramid. Anyway, this guy, he had him come over and to look at his pyramids, and the guy was big into, he goes, "See, my daughter's going to go to school for anthropology," and the guy's, like, "Oh, one of those." I found out a lot about the guy since then. But so father was into it. I was dowsing. He tried to make me douse. It's like, Dad, no. He would douse for gas, electrical, not gas, oil on maps with strings and the crystal. I mean, this was I had.
He wasn't even out over the ground. No. He was using it on maps.
Using it on a map.
That is a special skill.
For hours and hours. Yeah. Well, he was retired by the time I was born, so.
Well, in the late 70s, what is his name? The father of historic archaeology in the U.S., Ivor
Noel Hume.
Hume, yes. His book had a section in there, an entire page on dowsing, and this is, he was a little skeptical, but he says, "Yeah, maybe you should keep this in the toolbox, the archaeological toolbox, because it's cheap. It doesn't cost anything in case it works, whatever." But that was in the 70s or early 80s, 82, I think. That's the book I have. So
I graduated in 75 from high school. So yes, I am old. Yes. Dinosaurs, and we got along well. So before I went off to college, I got to work in a bookstore. And the big books that were selling was, of course, Chariots of, and all that garbage. Mm-hmm. But I also got a chance to order in a lot of weird stuff that people, they'd come in and ask for, and I'm going, "What's that all about?" Urantia. You name any cult going on. All the weird mystery things people would order in. So I'd get a copy for myself. So I had all of this stuff, but I could not believe that people are looking at this as being anything but fake, entertainment, because it is entertainment. So I go off to college, and one of the classes I get to take is a biblical studies, but it's not to study the Bible, but to rip it apart and find the origins for the things, etc. And the first day of class, the teacher goes, "We are going to, this is not a college, this is not a Bible study group. We are going to be doing this, this, and this." Third of the class got up and walked out. And I went, "Oh, wow." I was so surprised, because doesn't everybody think that this is fake and that this is not real? But obviously not. So then we just go forward. I got married. My husband's a civil engineer. And of course, he had to travel because he is a civil engineer with DOD. So I wanted to, we'd end up in weird places. And now we're down here, spit from California and Mexico, literally. So kids are now growing up, they're into their things, but they always got the real stuff at home, because I have a lot of things that are, from Egypt or from his place or that place. So they knew the things, and they go to school and they come home and go, "Mom, did you know that Atlantis is?" And I'm just going, "What?" What? And "Hi there, Mr. Da da da. What are we discussing about Atlantis in class today?" "Well, it's true." "No, it's not." Oh, it was that's. I mean, the kids had to suffer.
Play-Doh.
Play-Doh, yeah. I think it was Play-Doh. So,
but you're talking about that like in back in the day, let's say. But I sent you guys a picture of last year when I was in one of the historic neighborhoods of the city. I was just parked there after doing work on a project, and then I see a utility working with a dowsing rod, looking. I'm guessing. I know it's a historic neighborhood, and there may not be updated plans of the where the utilities are, but I couldn't believe that he was dowsing, and unfortunately I had to leave, but and didn't see if he was successful. Well, hello. But just to see that tells me, like how the impact of that stuff in today's, even in today's society, with internet, or maybe because of internet, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, most of the time, if they're successful at dowsing, it's either they know the area, they know the structure of the land or whatever, where water may be found, and it's usually several misses before they find one.
Well, in that case, he probably had a 50% chance of being right, because it was either on one side of the street or the other.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, look, this works. No, it doesn't work. I got mostly into here on the internet when I went to join a group, and they were talking about our favorite little light bulb. And I told them what it was. And the person in the group proceeded to call me a C, and that I was a shrill, whatever it is. I was like, what? And I think that's the group that Pablo was in. And then he said, go join this group, the other one that I still have. I don't know what to do with, but I still have.
Yeah.
And then finally somehow got over to here via Pablo. So I'm just following Pablo over to here. But it was, I was shocked that people spoke like that were so mean. And I mean, there's no need to be mean and degrading like that. But, as far as recently, I got to tell you this story. I run a writers group and things, and we were having a meeting, and I think we we're discussing Campbell's mythology, the one story mythology. And something comes up, and the lady goes, dinosaurs and men live together. And I just looked over, just kept going, and no, they didn't, and just went back. And she goes, how do you know that? And I just beat again. 210 million years, 120 million years. There's a big gap of time. And she goes, oh, you're one of them. I said, yes, I am not a young creationist. I'm sorry. And just kept going. But it's just the in your face, slap it in. This is right. There's not even a bash. I would be so bashful if I went to say that in front of a group that had nothing to do with what the group was talking about.
It almost sounds like Tourette's syndrome, like dinosaurs and people live together.
I know. I was hopping back and forth between the conversation that I was leading and this strange little interjection there. But that's why I'm here. I don't know why I'm here, to be honest. Why am I here?
I think you get a kick out of it. I think you enjoy kicking people out of the group.
Oh, I have no patience. I have lost patience with these people. I am sorry, but it's gotten so, some of the words are so bad. Some of the comments, it's like, why do you need to say that? Yeah. You're just doing it to argue or to aggravate people. Bye-bye.
The unfortunate thing I think about the internet, it does separate you from the person physically, and then you feel the need to say what you want. I mean, I feel that I think we all do to some extent. It's unfortunate that there are people who take it to an extreme and go way too far with it. And that's.
And we've had a lot lately, just like within the last couple months. So
yeah, I try to encourage people to report it because I don't have time to read everything. You clearly read a lot more of the threads than I do, because I try to skim them a little bit. Or if one's interesting, or if I think it'll be contentious, I'll usually make a comment in it so that I'll start getting notifications about it, so I can look at it. But otherwise, if people don't report it, I mean, it's hard to keep up with. So. It
is. I try to look over all of the posts. I go to each link. So some people have gotten some extra links, little clicks to check to make sure that it's really what it is. If it's a link that's good, bad, bad, click. We delete so many. I think there was 46 this morning.
Wow.
and I got to 3. So that's all I've gotten. But a lot of them are duplicates.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
there'll be
think
4 or 5 in the line.
I think the most irritating thing is that people come to us and they just throw it out there because you've obviously never seen this before, Tataria.
Oh my God.
As soon as I see the word Tataria, I'm like, delete.
Mud flow. There's some I can't take
Mud
anymore.
flood. I've had enough mud flood. Every once in a while, if something's insightful, I'll go ahead and okay it. If it looks like, hey, this is interesting, it's about Tataria, but here's something different or insightful about them, I'll okay that. Because it is a thing out there, but gosh, that is one of the most ridiculous. I remember Andy arguing with Roger Spur about mud flood.
Me?
I remember. Yeah.
I think that was. I remember that guy's name, but I felt like it was so stupid, and it was coming at the end of my patience for everything. So, like, I don't even have a memory of arguing with him.
Yeah, everything,'s a giant.
So dumb.
Yeah.
So dumb.
Everything's a giant.
Yeah,
He's
crazy.
I feel like the Giants stuff is, because Giants is not a Graham Hancock thing. He doesn't talk about that. So, like, he's had this arc of his ideas being front and center and all that. But I feel like the Giants is still this undercurrent, and I feel like it's going to start popping up again because, like, I'm seeing it now connected to Taria and like L.A. Marzulli, and these guys are still out there, like, pumping the same stupid shit that they've been doing for 10 or 15 years now.
Well, I think
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think Hancock is just. I mean, he started out really way out there in left field as well. Maybe not as far out as some people, but he's kind of. He slowly has painted himself into a bit of a scientific corner where he realizes he's got to defend some things and he can't. And now he's like, yeah, it's just it's magic. So it's telekinesis. They just Professor X'd it to the rest of the world, and that's why everything looks the same, or whatever. The end of page 464, I think, of America Before is where he talks about that. And that's you've read all this, and then you get to the end, and it's like, yeah, I was hoping to read that he thinks there was some sort of oral tradition that he could trace, or it's some loose tangent, or talk about compare it to Homer's Odyssey and how that was probably an oral tradition that got loosely you get carried on, and that's how we know things. And no, it was psychic magic.
I think you used an important word there, which is defend, and I think that's something these guys do not have to do unless people like us make them do it, because they are allowed to say whatever they want. I mean, literally, they can say whatever they want. And if there's no, counter narrative, or like, really, well, what about this? People take that for, and I know I'm telling you guys things that you all agree with, but like, people take that for, or silence for acquiescence or agreement. But when you do try to defend them, or try to make them defend, like Clint Dibble did, you realize how thin the arguments really are, and it becomes apparent to anybody who's willing to listen that that's the case. Not everybody's willing to listen, of course.
It was pretty clear that Hancock did not want to talk about actual sites or actual archaeology to an actual archaeologist. He's happy to do that with, Michael Shermer, who doesn't know beans about archeology. Right. And go, yeah, see, I trumped you.
Yeah, and he tried that trick too, which I was glad that Dibble was ready for it. When he's like, well, how many times have you been to Sacsayhuaman? How many times have you done this, and how many times have you done that? And he's like, well, I can look at pictures just like the rest of you guys can. And I saw him do that to Shermer, like, well, how many times have you been to the pyramid? And like trying to delegitimize, like, nobody's allowed to have like, how many Clovis sites have you excavated, Graham Hancock? Because if you haven't, then you shouldn't be able to talk about them. Like, that's the logic, and it's ridiculous. And he can make himself seem like,
well, he's used his privilege. All
I see is a flashing battery for Carl.
I can fix that.
While you're fixing your battery, I think that's I didn't hear Dibble use one of the things that to me are the most obviously fake about the whole thing, which is the looks like when he was at Yonaguni, and he was risking his life, for the truth, and s- there scuba diving and taking the pictures, and then he shows Sacsayhuamán, and then he's like, "There you go, look, Sacsayhuamán, megalithic." Like that means anything. It's just there are stones here, there are stones there, and then what? It doesn't like the that looks like method, or it looks like, well, he also used it like, look, there's a bearded man here and there's a bearded man over there, like what? So what? What does that mean? Like there's no. So many people I see online using that as if it was a valid way of establishing anything. This one looks like this one, therefore something
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I hate the word looks like. Oh,
Yeah,
I don't dislike many things, but I really dislike when somebody says, "Oh, this looks like that."
yeah. Similarities is the other word that I can't stand anymore. Like, this is
Oh,
why do this culture has this object that is similar to this one. And the thing is that they go that there's a culture that has hundreds of thousands of objects. Then there's another one that has hundreds of thousands of objects. Then they go and look here. Let's pick this one, and then yeah, this one. This one. These two are similar. Oh my God, they are similar. You pick the two similar, and then you are surprised that they are similar. So, and
What's
of
in the
course,
bag, Pablo? What's in the bag?
exactly. Yeah,
They do the same thing with language too. Like linguists did that, and like we now know that you can't take the net down, and play those games and say, well, they have these 10 words that are the same out of the lexicon of thousands of words. It doesn't make any sense.
and they all think that if a word sounds like this, it has to be. I mean, there are a lot of words, if you use them in English and other languages, that mean far different than what you're saying. So just because it sounds like doesn't mean that it's similar. I mean,
There's so few phonemes out there that
yeah,
you could combine them randomly, and if you do that a 1,000 times, you're going to have some that are exactly the same between two different
right.
names.
And a lot of words sound, they sound alike. I can't remember which one I saw the other day, and it was just like, really, you're taking this word, matching it to this word. Both are, one's in English, one's in different language, and it's the same word. And no, sorry, the words are not the same.
I know it's hard. It's hard for people, I think, to think past those like really, kindergarten. I'm going to put the square peg in the square hole. Like that's the level that they're dealing with in terms of like their analysis of the world and the past. Like it's
the Tolima jets. It looks like a jet.
yeah.
Therefore, it must be a jet.
Or
And
the Egyptian bird.
Yes.
Sorry.
Did you notice how they always, everything that they have, they say this looks like a jet, this looks like a helicopter. It's all 21st century.
Yeah.
It's not, if you are an alien species that came to Earth, considering the impossibility of doing it to begin with, but let's say we found some way to get here, we're going to have 21st century jets.
right.
Yeah.
We're going to use electricity. We're going to do,
Light bulbs.
Yeah, light bulbs. I still
What about the
want
free
to
energy?
find a socket. Yeah, the energy coming out of the pyramids. I watched a guy yesterday. Oh my Lord.
And the landing tracks in Nazca.
Yeah, why would you need landing tracks? You came how many billions of miles away without little runway lights? And now to land, you got to have runway lights? Yeah, all this.
Could have been a foggy day.
It's like, why can't you come up with something that's up your world building, Pseudo? Come on now. Go a little bit deeper. Let's build some really cool spacecraft or something that's, really cool. Oh, they disappoint me.
It is. It gets really boring and tedious after a while, And if I didn't think it had, for me, there's a utility in addressing it because, I think it actually is really dangerous. If we have Trump administration 2, Hutton Pulitzer is going to apply to be the director of elections or whatever. And, Tucker Carlson talks about this crap now. Yeah.
or worse, a position on the the ACA.
Cultural administrator.
Oh,
I mean, so when people in power like start believing in fantasies, like that's a problem. I started reading this book on the occult in Nazi Germany and only got into the first chapter, and like the guy was saying that, and it's like, you're right, like that's a problem, just the reality or the ability to divorce yourself from reality and saying, I'm going to believe this. That's it. I don't care about any of this other stuff, and I'm the one with the power and the guns. And
yeah.
so, the people who just want to laugh it off and say, you just should ignore all that. It's like, at your peril, at our peril, do we?
But it is fun.
On one level, it is also fun.
The pseudo I mean, I've learned a lot about different aspects of archaeology just from trying to. I mean, that can't be right. And then you do a deep dive and look into it, and you realize, wow, that's really fascinating. The Magna Fuente Magna Bowl is one of them. I'm like, that can't be Sumerian. I didn't know anything about Sumerian writing at the time, but once I started learning what Sumerian looked like, what cuneiform looked like, what proto-cuneiform looked like, and then looking at some of the symbols, I'm like, oh, some of these are actually even backwards, and they're wrongly created, and this is not even And then what was Clyde Winters even translating? He was just making stuff up, and so you look at that, and it just becomes very apparent that somebody saw an article in at a time when archaeology was a huge deal. It was in papers, and it was people really were into that kind of thing, and they just created this bowl. And I don't think anybody, maybe they were trying to hoax somebody, or maybe they weren't, but I mean, it's interesting and it's fun, but you can't take it too seriously.
The fun part is finding when somebody puts up like a picture or something, and just to find out what it is. I want to know what it is, why it's there, where it came from. I'm just this type of person. So if you tell me something, I got to go look. Oh, that's a what? Okay, I got to go search. So reverse image, and until I find it out. That part for me is just kind of fun. It's kind of like playing Sherlock Holmes.
I like learning about like stuff that I don't know that's like archaeology adjacent, like all the geological stuff. When I started listening to Randall Carlson, and he's got all these arguments about the Azores, like I went into that stuff pretty heavy, and I got more to still talk about because he's wrong on almost everything, but he knits together the pieces in a way that sounds convincing if you don't do that work. And it's the same with Jimmy Corsetti and his structure and all the stuff.
Yeah.
Salt in the volcano and these wave ripples. And there are people who know geology who have looked at it and gone like, no, that's all wrong. But like, I didn't know that stuff because they don't teach you that when you learn about humans. I don't know where salt in the volcanic dome comes from, but like it's there and it's not from seawater. So like, I find that to be really fulfilling is not the right word, but I like it. I like learning new things in the pursuit of like sorting crap out and being able to explain it to others.
There's a certain level of satisfaction you can get from it.
Yeah. Because
I mean, part of you recognizes, well, this is an interesting question. There's probably a good reason. I doubt it's Atlantis, but what is the reason? What? And it's like, oh gosh, what was that? I've always wanted to write a rebuttal article for the the Mediterranean archaeological or archaeometry and archaeology, or MAA, I think is this place, this journal. They had an article from a guy who was a young Earth creationist, and he wrote about how a comet hit the Earth. It was so big and had so much water that the Earth was the sea levels now are because of that. It rose 3 kilometers because that's an enormous. That would have split our planet in half. that kind of mass, But he's like, oh, that's just water, just splashed around the Earth and just filled in the gaps and that kind of thing. And he's looking at underwater channels and things like that. And he looks at the Azores. There's the Madeiras field or whatever that has has some particular kind of faulting there, and Medeiros Abyss, I think it is, and there's a particular kind of faulting, and I didn't. I mean, geology was something that I was going to major in before I discovered archaeology, and so I have a good fascination with geology and an understanding of a lot of geologic terms. I even minored in it. So I went into it with a little bit of understanding and started reading about this stuff, and I really came to understanding of how this faulting. When you look at it undersea, it looks like a grid formation. He's like, this is Atlantis. These are roads, and they're exactly X number of stadia apart. And they're like, what stadia? What is a stadia? And then when you start looking at that, there was like many different versions of a stadium. So you can which version is he using? He's not using the common version. He's using a version of stadia that most people don't use, and so you start finding these things out, and it was interesting. But this guy, he was seeing comet impacts all over the world, which turned out to be just some of it was volcanic and some of it was sinkholes and that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's fun to go from the story and the conclusion and then follow up on stuff. And that's when I taught that class in South Carolina. Like, that's what I wanted the students to also embrace, and try to figure out how to do. Some are good at it and some are not good at it. But people in general, it doesn't seem like they're that good at it right now. So I feel like they need some help, because nobody wants to go out and do that work.
Yeah.
They just want to watch a YouTube video where somebody tells it to them or gives them the answer. So.
Sorry.
It is satisfying, but the dismaying part is when you see something that's, oh my God, this again. So, I mean, I sometimes I just link to my blog and go, okay, there you go. Go take a look at this. It's like from 8 years ago that I wrote about it.
I was gonna say that Andy sometimes says that, or you've been saying that this is boring to you, and since I'm not an archaeologist, so for me it's like your research on geology or other adjacent things, as you said. But for me, archaeology is the thing that I'm learning about, and the other things too. I forgot why I was saying this. Oh yeah, so about the boring part. So I was like, no, but this is fascinating to me, But then once you see the meme of the Sumeria or Sumer, Ecuador, with that figure, that has the I forgot the name of the god side to side. Once you see it like for the millionth time, oh my God! Like again, the Father Crispy thing.
Crispy.
Not again! Like why?
Not crispy.
Oh my God! Why is this thing still? Father Krispy Kreme, yeah, and the cave and the whole thing again. No,
and we get those we get those things sent to us. Like I just discovered this. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, you have. We've seen it like every 2 or 3 times a month we see it. So we decline those often. They're like, why is my post being declined? Well,
I think
a lot.
I think a lot of the people that are members now don't know really the background of the group. And even though we've tried to tell them what it is, I think it's maybe still in posts, or maybe it's in comment, but somebody said they had no idea there were so many real archaeologists in this group.
Yeah. And some OG
they'll put up a thing from like Flint Dibble or from Brian Dunning, something. And it's like, oh, in case you didn't know, this person is in this group. Or they're shocked that the person comes onto the group to talk. They're just like, oh my God, what do I do? They don't understand. And I think they think it's like all the other Facebook groups. I don't want to, disparage them, but a lot of them are just BS. People, they just say whatever. Nobody says anything. Half of them are just, they're just regular people just BSing out there.
Yeah.
We have these guys that come in. I have a double degree from Oxford and Cambridge, and I have this and that and that. And we're going, huh? It doesn't look right. Somebody who has this and that. Number one, you don't spread out that far. You usually
we did have a guy like that one time. And everybody was like, "I don't believe you." Yeah,
I found him
university? I
on
don't
the
want to
net.
tell.
I found him on the net on a gaming site that he claimed he was this and that he was telling them how it works, and he had the whole thing. And I'm just going, he thought we were like those gaming people.
Yeah.
Mm.
I remember that guy. He got called out. We're not going to name names.
No, I don't even remember his name now.
I don't remember either. I would
probably in my list.
But
we'll just scroll back through the messages, and when you kick him out, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. You know who's like that? That Robert Sepper or
oh yeah.
He starts every conversation, but I forgot what he calls himself, anthropologist.
That's our anthropologist.
Yeah. And then he said some like the one time I show him that he was wrong about the Atlantis thing, because he showed me where it was located, and then he started telling me that how can I be disrespectful to his professional.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
It's like the time Freddie Silva said, "Do you know who you're talking to?" I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, some dummy in an ascot, apparently.
Yeah.
wrote a book.
Surprise.
His book was one of the worst books I have ever read, and that is all genres included.
Which one?
Like, Species with Amnesia.
Yeah.
Oh, Robert Sepper. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Sepper.
Yeah, I assigned that to my class, and we divvied up the chapters, and we wrote kind of like a group. They each had a chapter to debunk or whatever. They did a pretty good job, and I rolled them all together. But it had everything wrong in it that you could possibly want. Like, obvious, blatant misrepresentations. It had your Nazi stuff. It had your copy and paste and your plagiarism. It was the biggest dumpster fire of a book. He's got a lot of supporters too. And again, it comes back to the question of why do you guys want to believe this stuff when it's being put in front of you, how really wrong it is and how easy it is to show that it's wrong. They don't care. They want it to be true so bad.
Yeah, I think we all like to debunk that stuff, and one thing though that I try to be careful about, especially if I'm dealing with not necessarily those guys, the Brian Forresters and the Robert Seppers and the Fritzy and those guys. Those guys, I don't really care that they like me or not, but people who read them, I try to be more respectful to, and if I debunk something, I don't want to just say here's why it's stupid and just leave it at that. I try to fill in a gap, because now I've just taken away, ostensibly something they believed in. I try to fill it in with something that's, here's why this is really cool. Like the Bosnian pyramid, it's stupid. It's not really a pyramid, but there's some really cool archaeology going on there. There's Roman archaeology, there's Neolithic archaeology, and some of the best Neolithic archaeology and Neolithic figurines and pre-pottery Neolithic stuff that's going on there that's really cool. But people wouldn't know that because all they see is Osmanogic's magic. Yeah.
Literally magic. Like I remember, and I can't find it anymore, the video where he's in the tunnel that they dug, and they go to the supposed center of the pyramid, and they bring all the little gadgets to measure the energy and the sound resonance, and the whole all the
It's a healing space.
In healing, yeah. I wonder if people there have, health insurance. Why? You just go in the pyramid and done with it.
But and there's a with the people who live there at Visoko, in Bosnia, that's really an important thing for them because it's bringing tourism in. So on the one hand, I can see why they promote it and why they like Osmanagic being there, and why even people in government will tolerate that, because here you have a country who's, they lost over 800,000 people in that one country to war, just a decade or two before, and now Osmanagic comes out around 2006 or so, and here's the Bosnian pyramid, and this is the world's oldest pyramid, and they're like, oh, yeah, let's hype this up and get some people coming in here spending some money, some tourism from Europe. So I see the lure of it. I see the financial, the economic side of that, and if I was a politician, I'd be tempted to let it slide. Probably tempted. I wouldn't. Ultimately.
Yeah. Well, the same thing I saw in Belize, where I went to a site and I didn't know. I went to a Maya site and I didn't know that was the site where they, quote unquote, found the crystal skull. And the little museum there, let's say museum there, has a display where they explain
Right.
how it was found there and the whole thing. And it's I'm guessing like a government place, and they still promote that the crystal skull was found there and the whole thing, and it's like unfortunate.
Yeah,
But
I've got the
but
crystal
like you
skull.
said, yeah.
I got the crystal skull right here.
Oh,
Right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
It's full of moonshine.
But
Is that
but
illuminated, or is it the one on the top, second shelf down, or
The
the top?
one at the top, that one somebody made for me. They knew my interest in archaeology and pseudo archaeology. That one's it looks like it might be like a hominid, but this one's a decanter that I filled it with moonshine. So,
but like you said, like people go there because of the crystal skull, and then there are like Maya people selling their uh, crafts outside of the site, and they make money. That's how they make money. There's a little town there. There's a Maya guide, So it's difficult. It's difficult to say like, this is fake, but it's helping poor people. So
yeah, I mean, and in fact, some of the folks that are, they're raiding tombs and stuff in like places like Peru. What do they call them? The vaqueros? Is that the right word? They're
vaqueros.
Vaqueros, yeah,
Vaqueros, yeah.
They're stealing artifacts and selling them, and they're probably their own ancestors, but they can make more money from one artifact sale than they can probably their whole year farming or doing what they're doing. So, some of that is the illicit trade of artifacts that promotes some of the pseudoscience and pseudoarchaeology.
That's a very interesting, because we in my culture, as a person from Central America, we are raised to be detached from the Indian past, and we are taught that we are more mestizo. We are more like then. So it's not like here in North America, where there's the law, and then there's more of an attachment to the ancestors and things. So maybe I think that has to do with it. Like they don't feel like those people, even they don't feel they are as sacred, let's say. So they can just go and take the skulls and take the, like when I was in Peru, I remember going to a site where it was high on a cliff, and you can see the petroglyphs from the bottom and everything. And the guy told me that when people found it, they were using the skulls to play football, like soccer, with them. And I think that's because people don't feel it don't feel attached to them. That it's unfortunate that we are raised to have that kind of detachment from our past, which is another of the things that got me into digging a little bit more into all this.
Right. Andy, how much time do we have left?
Well, we are on the free version of this, so the answer is I do not know. We have been recording for a little bit over an hour. I want to say we have like a 2-hour limit, and then it might shut us off. But
hour and 5. I see it.
I don't know if you guys could see that.
I was going to bring up a topic we might be remiss if we don't discuss, and I don't like giving this dude any airtime.
Remember, we can always edit this later. So
I was thinking about Jimmy Corsetti and his recently on Twitter, or whatever the hell it's called now. I'm gonna call it Twitter. He's talking about he's putting out some videos. Back at you, man. So he's talking about, how dare they stop archaeology at Göbekli Tepe, and they're covering things up, and they're actually backfilling and doing that kind of thing, and planting trees on top of the site.
Yeah, I watched that video or listened to it anyway.
Yeah, I think there's a real I mean, I can see how on the surface that looks really weird. Why would you not want to continue excavating? So I know the answers, but I don't. Andy, as a professional archaeologist, why wouldn't you want to continue excavating when you've only excavated 5%? That's what is being said of the site, and you've probably got a backlog of artifacts to last you another 100 years.
Sure. I mean, the sleight of hand here that he's doing is he's convincing people that it's normal to excavate everything. Like, as soon as you get on a good site, like, you just excavate it 100%. We want this 100% excavated. And so that's where he's positioning himself as like the advocate for this openness. And just all I'm asking is that we do the same thing we always do, which is excavate everything. That never happens. Never happens.
What
the
does?
Time okay, so I'll qualify that. It happens when a site is in danger of destruction anyway. Mm-hmm. Like, if there's a highway coming through, you get as much of it as you possibly can, because the end result is going to be that it's going to be destroyed. But archaeology in itself is destructive, so we usually do not destroy something 100% unless it's going to be destroyed anyway. So the idea that
like Göbekli Tepe, if we found something like that in the United States, we wouldn't put a highway through it. They'd mitigate by going around, because it becomes, I think we have enough laws in place now. We wouldn't do something like that.
Right. And the idea that, like, so without getting into it, like, I take his point that, like, it looks bad to sink posts down into it and put concrete and things like that. So I'm not going to defend those choices, because I don't know the details. I don't really understand them. But in terms of, like, we're going to control the flow of people who are coming to look at this thing because it's heavy now, right? Part of the reason is because pseudo-archaeologists have made such a lot of hay, and a lot of people know about the site, so that's a good thing in some ways, but it has impacts in other ways. So you have to do something. Like, you can't just let everybody walk around roughshod all over the thing. So you have to somehow, like, direct the flow of people and protect it. Maybe there were mistakes made doing that. I don't know. But the idea that by burying it and protecting it, you are somehow, like, trying to hide things is absolutely ridiculous. Like, if we always had that attitude that we're going to excavate 100% of everything we find that's interesting, bye-bye archaeology. Like, and A, we don't have the capacity to, and B, these are the same people who are like, well, there was this great Hopewell earthwork, but it got blitzed in the 1800s and it's gone, so all we have is a drawing. Like, that's where we're going to be in 100 years from now if we do that. So the fact that they know that there's more of this out there, and they decided to take, like, a wait-and-see approach while they get caught up, which is what I presume is happening, because you're right. Like, there are probably millions and millions of artifacts from there now that need to be analyzed. There is nothing wrong with doing that, in my opinion. But there is something wrong with trying to turn that into a conspiracy for your own ego, which is what it appears to me that he is doing.
Yeah,
that's my hot take.
If you take his suggestion to its logical end, let's say they did triple or quadruple their team and excavate 100%. Well, now you've got to start moving these large stones, because you want to be able to get underneath them at some point, because 100% means 100%. You want to go down to the pre-cultural period.
Absolutely, down to the Atlantean levels. You got to get down there.
So,
I'll edit that out. We don't want to let them know that we know about it.
You've got to move all that stuff out of the way. So when you move it out of the way, you can't just set it on the side of the trenches. You've got to put it somewhere where you can curate it. It can't just be out in the open, because it's subject to weathering and exposure, looting, everything else. So that means you're going to have a building, ostensibly a museum, or in a museum or places in the back where not everything is worthy of. You don't want to see everything in a museum. Number one, you don't have time. Pablo and I have been to Cahokia. I know, Andy, you've been to Cahokia. That museum is huge. we're not seeing even probably a tenth of what they have excavated. I mean, there are probably boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff in the back that's very similar. So they put out representative samples of things. So that's got to be curated somewhere. I mean, so if we took his Corsetti's stupid idea to its logical conclusion, it doesn't seem stupid on the surface until you think about it. But if we took it to a logical conclusion, then you have to put all that stuff somewhere. Somebody's got to catalog it all. It's all got to be a session, measured, weighed, everything else. And so with thousands and thousands and thousands of objects ranging from the, almost microscopic to macroscopic megalithics, as they like to say. And so where are you going to put all this stuff? And then when you figure out where you put it all, who pays the electric bill of this stuff? Who's going to maintain it? Who's going to dust it from time to time? Who's going to make sure everything is in order? Who's going to secure it? Who pays for that? And then it's just an amazing feat.
I know. Warehouse 13 with the pyramid next door that's generating electricity.
Right.
Those silly little light bulbs.
Problem solved. You use your free energy.
Yeah.
This whole spiel is clearly like, it's like, tell me you don't really understand archaeology without actually saying you don't understand archaeology. Like,
which is okay if you don't understand it.
No, I get it. But he knows.
Yeah.
Like he's a salesman. He's a salesman, and he's good at it. It was funny that Luke Caverns, who I, called out for his dumb thing about the Atlantean statues at the Toltec or whatever, he had no problem throwing Corsetti under the bus. He's like, everybody hates him. Like, he said that. So, okay, like, I have no idea. Like, I've never talked to the guy. But I could, to me, that statement that nobody likes him, like, that resonates with the impression that I get when I listen to him yammer on.
I get the sense at least Caverns wants to be legit. I mean, he's also after the clicks, so he goes to the Comic Summit. I mean Cosmic Summit, and
that's today, isn't it? That starts today.
Is it today?
Yeah, it's this weekend.
We're the alternative. We're the alternative to the Cosmic Summit.
Yeah,
we're the better half.
No, I agree. He seems like a nice. I'm going to call him a kid because I'm in my 50s now, so he's a young man. Seems like a nice guy.
I mean, he's doing a little bit of cosplay, but.
Right, it's the cosplay thing bothers me. Like, nobody does that. Like, you shouldn't do that. You just shouldn't do that.
I've got a skull.
Yeah, where are your guys' hats? Where's all the fedoras?
Right there.
I don't know.
Well,
hey, I've got a Tilly hat. I wear a Tilly hat in the field if it's really hot and sunny. If I'm walking over fields or something, I put that. There's not a lot of hair left there, so I'm trying to protect what I got left. I wear that out in the field in the sun. So
it'll be interesting to see what comes out of the Cosmic Summit. I think this is the second year, only the second year they did it. So, and I subscribed to the YouTube channel, and I've gotten so many notifications over the last few days of like, here's your discount code. Use this for a certain percentage off. So I don't know whether they're having trouble selling tickets. That's what it feels like. But.
He says he's sold out, and I mean, you look at George Howard's post; it's a raging success.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's just the online stuff that they're trying to squeeze a few dollars out of. Which again, that's a business.
Well, the online parts, they can have as many attendees as they want. Really.
Right. There's no scaling problem.
Yeah. I'm assuming that Luke Caverns will actually talk about realistic stuff. I mean, I think he did last time, except for whatever it was you pointed out. But he says that they changed things in his video or something. I don't know.
But he never says he didn't say it. Like, if like, you got to stop selling the mystery. You got to stop dressing like Indiana Jones and talking about all of these unexplained things. That's just not your. I mean, you got to be yourself if that's what he wants to be. But if he wants people to take him seriously, you got to stop doing that.
I wanted to talk about something that I've seen Corsetti trying to have a fight, trying to pick a fight with John Hoops, and say, like a personal thing. And I'm a little bit. Let me explain. Andy has explained how when he was studying, his teachers were like, "No, leave those people alone. It's fine." And now I feel like Rossetti is trying to have an enemy so that he looks like he's
Yeah,
fighting the
the good fight.
establishment or
Yeah.
academia, you know. And if he's ignored by academia, then he doesn't look legit to his people. So I'm a little bit torn between the two things: to be ignored, or should legit scholars fight the issues, not the person. You know what I mean?
He wants to be the superhero with a nemesis, but
Exactly.
the reality is he's the nemesis looking for a superhero.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He needs someone to fight him, so that he can show his followers that he's being attacked by, because they depend on that. You could see it in the debate of Flint and Hancock, that Hancock depends on being a victim so
Yeah.
that he can promote himself as the victim of this mean academia people.
Mean. We're so mean.
Yeah.
The mean ones. Ooh.
No, I think you're right. There's so much showmanship. And
But that's part of the gimmick. If you don't have that, people aren't going to identify with you. They're not going to follow you because through your eyes, they exist. So they go, ooh, I'm like this. I can be like this. That guy doesn't have a degree. I could do what he's doing. No, yeah, you can, but it's not right.
Mhm.
They have their idols.
yeah. It's interesting to me too, like we've been in this long enough now. Like as I'm getting caught up again, I realized Joe Taylor, the guy who wrote Giants Against Evolution, passed away a couple years ago.
Did
which
he?
I just yeah.
He was one of the 3 people that did the. He was the guy with Brian Forrester taking DNA samples. It was him.
Yeah.
Aaron.
He did.
Some guy. Yeah.
And he did he does a lot of casting. So like the skulls that Marzulli is holding up, those are casts made by Joe Taylor. And then Michael Heiser died in 2023, right?
Mm-hmm.
And are there any others that I'm missing? Like any other people that are kind of in our orbit?
I got to say, I miss Michael Heiser. I really do. He was a biblical archaeologist, and I don't have a whole lot of time for those guys, but I did for Michael. I really did. He was anti pseudo archaeology in a lot of ways, and I mean, it was heartbreaking to see that he had passed away.
Yeah, I learned a lot from his posts and things as I was trying to get up to speed on like the Sitchin stuff and stuff like that. So he did a lot of good work.
I think he was. Sorry.
We traded some emails back and forth over the years.
I think he was the let's say the science part of the background of the show I was talking about, the debunking ancient aliens. He was often quoted by the host of the show as Michael Heiser, and he had his website also. I remember consulting it many times.
Yep, definitely made a contribution.
Yeah, we're losing a lot of the, excuse me, not the people, but sites. A lot of the old sites that were doing pseudo-archaeology have disappeared. They're still there. You can go and find them, but they're gone. Because I know I keep notes on things, and I just put them up online because it's easy for me to find sometimes. And there'll be, all the links are no good anymore.
Are you thinking of Mikey Brass?
What
was his man in antiquity or something like that? He did a lot of
that one. Gone. I didn't know. I don't think Paleobabble is up anymore. I did not see it last time. Was it gone? I don't know. I thought when I went to look at it, it was gone, but things come in and out of my office constantly. So.
That's one of the reasons why, like, I've started doing YouTube videos, and I kind of shuttered my blog. All the comments I was still getting on those things, I haven't written on it for years, but they were all just spam or whatever. So, like, I stopped the comments. But there's a lot of dead links on that stuff too. But when you make a video like the way I've started trying to do it, it's like I can put everything on the screen, so I can show somebody in their video and not just have a link to it, and like it's preserved, and I don't have to worry about them deleting it and going, "Oh, that never happened," which is like a Hutton Pulitzer.
Oh,
No, I never said that.
Hmm.
Well, I can't prove it. I can't prove it, but now I can.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing. Like when I go online, like I'll just look at sources and read them. It's like, so yeah, that website might be gone in 10 years, but like that's what I was looking at right there, and you can see it. So I feel like that has been useful for me because I don't have to worry about, at least in the context of like my 5 or 10 minutes, I can still show my work, and not go, I swear it used to say that. It used to say, this stupid crap about Michigan copper or whatever.
Yeah. I think
I'm still trying to get used to the new. I mean, I've been blogging about pseudo-archaeology for probably getting close to 20 years now. I mean, 15 at least, maybe closer to 20. And I'm starting to get used to the idea that everybody's looking at videos now. So I've got a couple. I think I'm going to have to get more active with YouTube. I'm writing a script. I've been writing it for almost exactly 1 year. And Samira Minetti, shout out to you. She translated a Dutch book for me. A book. She translated the whole thing and sent it to me. I've been using that. I'm going to do a video on the dodecahedron. I'm almost done with the script. If I can ever find time, I don't know. It's crazy. But YouTube videos they take effort and time. And I've done a couple, and I'm really amazed. Oh, speaking of people who passed away, what was his name? Nick. He had over 400 videos. I did a couple of videos with him. I did a long interview with him right before he got sick.
Yes, that was
and it was he one of the last things he did an interview with was Brian Forrester, and the idea was he was going to interview Brian Forrester and give him all the chances to say what he wanted to say, and then he interviewed me, and I came on and rebutted every bit of it, and it never made it up to the YouTube.
Oh, that's a shame.
Unfortunately. But it what was his gosh, he's got me very much. He was an inspiration in getting interested in YouTube and looking at that as a medium. Study of Antiquity in the Middle Ages is the page or the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
There's over 400 videos, and
he was on our group for a while, I
Nick
believe.
Barksdale. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nick Barksdale.
It was kind of sudden.
Yeah, really. He had a heart issue. I forget what it was. It hit him really fast and hard, and it looked like he was recovering, and he got discharged, went home. He was in the hospital for ages, went home, and then got sick again, and then passed. And I think he had time. And when he passed, we were talking. I made a video for him during his time sick. He's like, hey, he reached out to several people. Can you make some videos? So the Dendera light video was one that I did for him, and it's on his channel. Then I redid it because you can't have the same video. So I redid it in my own style, pretty much the same script, and I put it on my channel. And then I did the Baghdad Battery as a follow-up because it was just a natural follow-up. So that's the only 2 videos I've really got right now. Well, no, I've got 3. The Saqqara
Bird.
Yeah, the big sarcophagi at Saqqara. Yeah.
Oh, the black.
So those.
I feel like there is a lot more material out there, like on our various blogs and things, that people might never go read if they don't ever get past YouTube. Like all of that crap I did on giants, like none of that content is accessible if you don't go out. You know what I mean? Like if you're on YouTube looking for information on giants, like you won't find any of it. So I feel like we have to like shift over at least like some of the like factual things, like somehow put them in a format where they're findable by people who are digesting all of this other stuff. So it's a long-term project.
Giants never interested me, so I never did anything on my blog about giants.
Yeah, I gotta find the giant spark again, because I feel like, as I've said before earlier in this, like I feel like it's this undercurrent that is like coming back.
It is. It's recycling. Because what are they going to do after a while? Got to recycle that old stuff. It's about every 6 months I've noticed we'll get a whole line of things similar, and then about another 6 months to a year, it's like, oh, it's back. Oh,
Yeah.
good.
AI is giving it life to a lot of these things, like including giants. Like now there are all these pictures of giants.
Yeah, it's AI's messing with Egypt.
Yeah, I just,
Crazy.
and maybe I'm crazy. I've been declining a lot of stuff where I see AI generated stuff. Otherwise, we just get flooded with it. But then again, I think, well, if we don't talk about it, then people won't know what to recognize. So I guess I just try not to. There's enough of them getting approved that I tend to decline the AI generated stuff. Just so much crazy out there right now. It's crazy.
I don't know, but if I see one more with those AI, I don't know, I don't know what they're supposed to be, iPods, for bodies lined up in a cave, I'm going to scream. I think I got rid of 10 of them in the last 2 days. Just, really? Is this the only thing that's going on out there in this world? They're like these little pods, and I don't know if there's supposed to be people in them, probably, like aliens, whatever. It's like, it's enough. It's enough. You guys diverge. You can make more AI. Do something. Upgrade.
Even AI is boring. Come on. Something
The AI is just terrible.
Yeah, it'll get better, but
I can't wait.
I like AI.
Give me something that's challenging. Come on. Well, guys, we have talked for an hour and a half. You want to call it, or do you want to just push it to the boundary and keep yammering?
See how far we can go.
What other topics can we cover?
I saw Ancient Apocalypse 2 is going to have a second season.
I saw that too.
I didn't watch the first one. I admit I watched one episode and I was so burned out on that stuff, and it's the same crap. So I didn't even.
I don't have enough marshmallows to watch that show.
Yeah.
It's just.
I wonder, I wonder if there's a way to put Graham Hancock on the defensive and give him questions that we feel like he has to answer in order to look credible. Because I feel like Flint and Dibble did that, but
I'm interested to see what he does with two. I bet. My prediction: he revisits Gunung Padang and talks about how he feels bad that he was the one that got Danny Nadawijaja canceled or whatever, even though the paper's still on the site and you can still read it.
I'll say the same thing that I would tell myself when I had to give a student an F and I felt bad about it. The student earned the F, so that paper earned its retraction. I don't think that that paper should have never made it past peer review.
Yeah, I'm really curious how it made it where it did. It's such interesting.
Anyway, I'll play victim on that. Sure, check.
The one thing I did notice this week was Neil deGrasse Tyson put out a video about Terrence Howard. I thought that was great.
Amazing.
I have not. So the Terrence Howard thing, I hear this name, but I haven't sat down and actually digested what. You're shaking your head. Is it that bad?
Yes.
1 times 1 is 3, or
No,
1. I forgot which one it is. 2. Yeah. 1 times 1 is 2. And I thought,
all you need to know.
Dad.
All you need to know.
Explains it all, I guess.
Oh Lord.
Which is impossible because you're multiplying. How can it be the same thing?
Oh, and then you had to have, what was it, different resonations or harmonics, and you could go through universe. Oh, it got crazy. I watched the original one.
I didn't watch the Terrence Howard. I watched a couple clips of it, and that was enough.
Oh.
And then I watched Neil deGrasse Tyson's review of his 36-page treatise, that he sent to him because he wanted to come on Neil deGrasse Tyson's show about 8 years ago. And so he sent him his 36-page treatise, and then Neil marked it up and sent it back to him.
It was all red. There's so much red.
Yeah, I'm kind of wishing, or what would have happened if he didn't send Neil the paper, and he gets invited to the show and starts talking about all this stuff. I woke up in my mother's womb.
Neil probably wouldn't have. They wouldn't have aired that.
That's
sure.
I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
No.
He woke up in his mother's womb, and he all of a sudden, and he was conscious. And what am I doing here?
Yes.
Oh my God.
This is
As we
one of
all
those
do,
things
right?
you watch and you try to force out of your brain.
Does any of his stuff have anything to do with like ancient civilizations or anything like that?
No,
Does he
make
make those connections? All right.
No, it doesn't.
Not
Not yet. Not yet.
not yet, exactly. Just give it time, and he'll probably well. Didn't he like the flower of life thing that is part of the that people are like humans have been trying to figure out for millennia in all civilizations and stuff, the flower of life, yeah,
The sacred geometry.
sacred yeah, he's getting there.
Okay.
He'll get there.
No.
You're right. You're getting in there.
Yeah, he's getting in there.
Geometry.
Another one I watched the other day was Professor Dave. If you ever see Professor Dave Explains, he doesn't pull punches, so his language isn't the best. He calls people as he sees them, but he did one on Billy Carson. And he also did one on Terrence that he just people, how dare you against my hero? You know, people got very upset about it. So he goes, they're going to love this one now.
So what's the Billy Carson thing? Because I've heard that name too, but I haven't
It's
investigated.
nuttier than the first one. I don't.
Apparently, he's worse than Terrence Howard. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's when you start talking about we're in a universe, and if you get the right atomic resonance, you can match to another universe, and you can walk through the universe.
Yeah, they
I'm going to use that in a book. But
that one in the movie, staring at goats. Men who stare at goats, and the guy's like, I can run through the wall.
It's he has a lot more on Egypt and things in his stuff, and all this. It's so illogical. It's like Electric Universe, illogic. Yeah.
Sounds like he's read too many Flash comic books.
Somewhere he's read something. And even to listen to him, he just jumps, and you're going, okay, hold on. You're over here. No, you're over here. It's just, he keeps it hard.
Where do these people come from? Like, because here we are talking about him. I'm talking about him. I don't even know who he is. How did he get to where is this another Joe Rogan show thing?
He was on it, I believe.
So, like, you don't just go from like guy on the street corner with crazy ideas to Joe Rogan's. Like, how do you build that up?
They actually have a thing on how he got to be where he's at. Somebody just recently talked about it, how he manipulated through the system and got into Joe Rogan, and how he's used this YouTube and stuff just to become popular and to say whatever to get, influences. So it's quite interesting. It was like, okay, I can't lie that much. Sorry.
Yeah, some of these people are really good at it.
Yes. But we have a lot coming up on the edges, I think, that are just getting their feet wet, unfortunately, which means that we need a lot more on our side to stop some of the overlap, the lapping of the water. So we need to do, sadly, more. I'm going to do my little part. Eventually, I will finish this project, but it's going to be called Confronting Pseudo, and it's just the basics of it. So as soon as I can get established here and get my computers back up running, I will finish the videos. I got several to do, but just the really simple basic facts of what this item is. It's not that, it's this. Just and run them as the really short TikTok things.
Okay.
Run a lot of them like that way, because I think we need to get a lot more out just on the common stuff that you see every day. It's just really short and, not deep analysis that is what's really needed, but people won't listen.
Right. I see that too as an important thing to fill. I haven't looked into I don't even know how to make like a short video because they're in different formats. So that's on my radar to try to do it, because I spend way too much time every day just scrolling through things and discovering people. So I think we definitely need to be more in that sphere.
I drank my last beer.
I guess we're done.
Hold it. Oh, you're later in the afternoon. I was going to say, it's not even noon yet.
Why do you have to wait till noon?
Yeah.
That's an arbitrary cultural
It's
rule.
time to switch to bourbon now.
I got my coffee still.
Thank goodness.
It's
Carl Fegans doesn't follow your rules.
goodness. Really? Drinking this.
Should
Yeah, I like the trending idea, like, you know, the thing we just talked about with Corsetti. I mean, it's trending right now. Everybody's talking about it.
Exactly.
The one thing he did, one of the things he also talked about was why would they plant trees on top of the site? And there's a good explanation for that I can think of, and that's to stabilize the site, because the trees
erosion.
create roots, and it helps protect the site from erosion. But it's not they're not trees. The roots aren't damaging the site at all. So I think that's the thing that they're looking at. But Andy, as far as you mentioned, putting poles in or columns in to put up the roof, I guess they have there. I did answer that on the group. Somebody asked that question, and I mean, without knowing exactly what their plan was and how they did things, we do things like that in the Forest Service, and it's just risk. It's risk mitigation. It's risk management. Basically, you look at the risk of not doing something versus the risk of doing something, and I mean, you're not going to put the columns and pier. So there's going to be a pier for the column. It's going to go into the ground to some depth to keep it stable. You know, to help. I mean, because it is an earthquake-prone area, I believe. So they're going to have a pier that goes into the ground to some depth. So that, I mean, they can do things. They can do geophysical surveys and GPR work, see if there's any potential that there's something there. They can also manually open the hole with, you know, post hole diggers, or a little bit of time with an auger, and see if there's anything coming up. And then once they've got the hole done, then they can create the pier, mount the pole on top of it. And you wouldn't do that just, you know, you would do it in places where there are low risk spots for features and artifacts. You wouldn't just do it. So I would imagine, I have to guess without looking at their plan, but I would imagine if you looked at the poles, they're not probably evenly spaced. They're probably oddly spaced, and that's to take into account for the features and artifacts. So, yeah. But the risk of not covering it creates between the sun and rain, and it's a desert, but they're still going to get rain and wind and that kind of thing. It's going to help protect those features and artifacts.
Yeah, when you imagine. Sorry, go ahead, Pablo. Go ahead.
Oh no, when you were talking earlier about the what could, like, if you excavate and extract thousands and thousands of objects, and like you said, like some of them are very similar. Mm-hmm. It reminded me the one time I visited the basement of the Smithsonian Museum, and there were
secrets are.
Don't worry, we can edit this part out too, because we don't want to give it.
And there were it was kind of boring, because all you can see is shelves and boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff, which of course some conspiracy theories would say that that's something, you know, like but the Smithsonian employees can go there, you know, can check, I guess, what's in there. It's not any mystery or anything.
Anybody can, if you show good enough reason and apply for the permit. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And I'm thinking now that once the site, let's say that Göbekli Tepe thing, you excavate it, you see what's there. If there's anything, you know, like worth putting in a museum that is not similar to other things that's already there, you have pictures. Like I was watching this documentary recently about Teotihuacan, where, and this is something I didn't understand, like they have all the amazing technology now to scan the stuff and do the 3D versions of it and put it on a website, and people can walk through the recent tunnel that they found under the main pyramid and see the stuff where it was located originally. But they also are doing drawings of them, and I don't understand why. Maybe you guys understand that better. Why do you have like a 3D version of something, but you also have like the hand drawing, which looks beautiful, but I don't know of each object?
Well, I think A couple of reasons. One, I mean, just off the top of my head, depends on the artifacts, but I do know that in the United States, there are some with NAGPRA. You have items of cultural patrimony, and so you can get away with drawings easier than you can photographs. And a 3D image is something of a photograph, but also even with a 3D image, you're not seeing some of the minute details. I mean, because you have that 3D image, but the shadows and shading aren't they're different. So with a drawing, you can draw that in, and
without any shade.
And you can shade it the way you want it. And if you want to highlight a feature or an aspect of an artifact, you can do that really easily in a drawing. Great for lithics. Lithics is
I was talking about lithics specifically. Yeah.
Interesting. Like drawings of lithics a lot. And there's different methods of drawing. You can do stippling, or you can do
the point
lines, stippling little points. Yeah. So different methods and different ways of bringing those features out.
Well, in that case, apparently they extracted all the things because there's some risk of collapsing. In fact, they found the tunnel because the ground collapsed, and there was all of a sudden a hole in the ground. And there's a tunnel here, and so good, I don't know. But it was interesting to see the amount of work it takes and how many people are involved in the preservation of all the objects. It's a lot of work and a lot of storage. And like you said,
it's almost like you need to stop at some point. Let's just backfill what we got to protect it and sort out what we've already done first, and then let's come back and see if we have any new methods and technology that can help us.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine, if they didn't protect that site, if they just left it open, like you were saying, Carl, to the wind and the rain and the sun, and if they didn't have any place for people to walk, if they didn't have a road, I mean, it would get trashed. It would get trashed every day from people walking in and out of there.
Right.
Like, that's not what you want. That's not what anybody wants. And people who don't do archaeology don't understand. And when we do a budget for the field, you could do 4-to-1 or even 10-to-1 in terms of like your lab budget versus your field budget.
Right.
Everybody likes to go and dig up stuff and find things, but you got to wash it, catalog it, analyze it, and museums are filled with projects that didn't get completed because people didn't plan for that sort of thing. It costs money to store all of that stuff too.
If you want to have climate controlled.
So it's ridiculous to say we need to excavate the whole thing and you're hiding stuff from us. Like, that is the absolute most asinine thing somebody could say. And to me, it's just waving a big red sign that says, I do not understand what I'm talking about. I have no idea what I'm talking about. So if you might as well have just replace that video with a sign that says, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
If you just want to have something carbon dated, you got to get in line. I mean, there's already a line of people, and that's not, and there's also the expense of the carbon dating process. So, I mean, it's tremendous.
When you see pseudo always talking, and they go to these easy, simple explanations that everybody, grade 1 and below can understand. They don't understand there's a depth, like you talk about, let's say the pyramid, but there are people who specialize in one little section of the pyramid that are, have this depth of knowledge. You go talk to them. You just don't go, oh, I'm an expert because I read this person's book about the pyramids being, generators. There's such a depth of knowledge. Each section has their experts, and everybody has their little niche, that they like. And it's deeper than, I don't think they can comprehend how deep it is, how truly the depths of it. It just, example, the Babylon's, the battery, when Milo talked about it, he made a few mistakes. And I looked at it and I went, oh, you're going to get called on this. I don't want to say it. Because he didn't mention that there's more than just the one. There's like 3 or 4. Right. And then the gentleman from the Penn, I think he's from Penn.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
He came in and explained to him that what it is. And he had that depth. He had the site, the papers, everything. He had that little bit that you needed to know about. And if you just hadn't, by some accident like I had, read his stuff, you wouldn't have known that. So then Milo, of course, explained, He
I
was
was
very
doing
nice to
I was
accept.
doing my video on that when Milo put his up, and I was like, oh crud, he just put up a video. And I was like, let me watch this. I was like, oh, he didn't talk about a whole bunch of stuff. And then right before I put my video up, that guy put up his video. I was like, oh, did I cover everything? So,
Yeah. So that's the
I
diff.
got everything. I was like, I don't think I missed anything. I don't think I got anything terribly wrong. So I went ahead and put mine up, and I haven't heard either. But mine, like 5
Milo
people
was
saw it,
really
so,
good in how he accepted the, you know,
yeah.
The correction or
the
the
correction. Yes, thank
Yeah.
you.
That's the thing. So, like, people are wrong all the time. We're wrong. I'm wrong. Carl's been wrong. Pablo's been wrong. I'm sure Jay maybe has been wrong at some point in her life. No, okay, so it's just me. I'm the only one who's ever been wrong. You know, I know that I'm wrong. I accept when I'm wrong, and I'm trying to be right. But these guys who cannot ever back down from something,
Right. Yeah.
that tells you, it's like, I can point out, you said that was white and it's actually black. No, what are you trying to cover up? And like, that's when you know who you're dealing with at that point.
I think that's another way to tell whether or not somebody's really a pseudo person or a real person, because real people, actually real scientists and people in disciplines and stuff, they make the correction. They say, yeah, I was wrong on this. Gutstick Gibbons, she did the mud creation video.
Oh yeah.
It got a lot of publicity. She had to take it down. She took it down because she made a comment that the professor or the person she was referring the paper to was a creationist. And she found out afterwards he was not. He was writing this to the creationists.
Oh, okay.
So she just assumed because he was in this magazine, he was a creationist. So she said she took it down, she redid it, and she apologized.
I just saw it up. I haven't watched it yet, but I just saw it.
She's redone it, and she's put it back up, and she has this little explanation on why. And I thought, that's a professional.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
acknowledged that they did something wrong, they corrected it immediately, and still went back with what they were going to put up.
It's fundamental to getting the right answer, is being able to admit that you're wrong and like adjusting. Like that's the foundation of science. And if you cannot think that way about anything, then you're not ever going to come up with the right answer.
So maybe that's what we do. Just so people know, viewers or visitors to members of the Fraudulent Archaeology Wall of Shame, if you want to post something and you're not sure why your stuff's getting declined, it probably has to do with a few things. One, the big thing is there's probably a link in it to the original content. And oftentimes as soon as we see a link, we just a YouTube video or something like that, we don't want to promote pseudoscience. Yeah. If it's somebody like David Miano or Milo, we'll okay it because they're the good guys, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes we don't know if it's a good guy or bad guy. We just err on the side of caution. The other one is if we've seen it a lot, like that day, I've seen where we've got 2 posts already going on a topic, and somebody comes like, I found one in the wild, and they throw it up there, and we've already got 2 going, and so we'll decline it. Sometimes it's just prejudice on my part. I just don't like Tataria and mud flood. So,
boo!
I know, right? But we do. I mean, I have okayed a few of them. I mean, if they're saying something different or unique or something new, that's interesting. And so, but if they're saying the same old thing, look at these buildings, you can see the mud line, and they dig below, and who cares? I mean, that's such a crazy thing anyway. What else? What are the other reasons why we might decline? There's like 3 or 4 more reasons too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's 5 of us, and maybe you saw the Tartaria and declined it, but I didn't see it, and I approved it. So it may be, there may be like duplication.
We don't have the same biases. Yeah, I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
Pablo might be biased against the Fuente Magna. I like that one.
Truth.
Yeah. I am definitely biased against Clyde Winters. Like we can dedicate the show.
Also, I don't approve anything that looks like it's going to go into a racial tone. I just decline that. I mean, we don't have time to monitor. Everyone, if I feel like I'm going to have the rest of the day, I can come in and peek at the comments. I might approve something contentious just to weed out some of the mud holes. But that's an opportunity there because they make their themselves known, and then you're out, that kind of thing. But otherwise, I mean, if it's racially contentious, I just don't. That meme about with Michael Jackson looking like one of the pharaohs. That one doesn't. Lil Wayne. That one, I don't do that one. There's like 4 or 5 of them that we see them every week or so. I just decline them right away.
And I think the main reason should be that those things could easily become like this big fight, and we can damage the group reputation with Facebook, and then start getting like canceling. I don't know what the I forgot what the word is by Facebook. Because
they're pretty good so far.
Yeah.
We've been doing pretty good. Oh, the other one is Friday Funnies. I think. I mean, we don't want to be the group of a stupid meme group, So we kind of limit it to Friday. Let Friday, 2 or 3 of them on Friday's fine. Keep it all in one thread's even better. If something's really relevant and it's funny, it might go up on Tuesday, but I mean, it's got to be relevant to, like, if somebody's making fun of Jimmy Corsetti, it's probably going to go up.
Yeah. Someone told me once, like, isn't everything here funny? And it kind of true. Like, it
kind of is, yeah.
But it's just, there's funny, and
And there's funny. There's funny, right?
Yeah.
My clock says less than 60 seconds.
No, I think this was great. It was a lot of fun.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
You guys all have a good day. I will get this up as soon as possible, and one of you can post it on there and make it required viewing.
And we'll be all embarrassed.
You can have like a clue, like a secret
I'm
word
not
that you have to
gonna
watch all the way through.
Just wanted to say thanks to Big Archaeology from
Thank you for sponsoring this, Big Archaeology.
Still
edit
waiting
that
for
out
my
too.
check after decades.
Yeah. All right.
In square quotes. It's in square. It's square quotes.
Time to get paid, guys. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.